Hello, my dear students. Welcome to English Made Easy with me, Dipali Rai. This is the second series of our lesson, The Sentence, where we shall learn about simple, compound, and complex sentences. In the first series of our lesson, The Sentence, we learned that a sentence has a structure and function. So in the first series, we have discussed the functional aspect of a sentence. So in this series, we are going to discuss the structural aspect of a sentence. Dear students, हामीले अघिल्लो series 1 मा sentence को structure र function हुन्छ भनेर पढेका थियौं र हामीले series 1 मा sentence को functions बारे पढ्यौं र यो series number 2 मा हामीले sentence को structure अथवा बनावट बारे पढ्ने छौं. In the first series, we learned that functionally there are 4 kinds of sentences. They are assertive or declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamatory sentence. If you look at the structural aspect of a sentence, sentences are of 3 kinds: simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. र बनावट अथवा ढाँचाको हिसाबमा हामीले सेन्टेन्सलाई हेर्यौं भने सेन्टेन्स 3 प्रकारका हुन्छ: simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. We know by now that a sentence is a group of words that make complete sense. So those group of words could be a phrase, clause, right? So in order to understand the structure of a sentence, it is very important to understand the clause and phrase. So especially when we are dealing with the structural aspect of a sentence and studying the simple, compound, and complex sentences, it is mandatory, it is very important to know the clause. र structurally हेर्दा एउटा sentence, phrase, clause हरुले बनिएको हुन्छ र यो कुनै पनि sentence को structure बुझ्नलाई त्यहाँ भएको phrase, clause हरु हामीले छुटाउन सक्नुपर्छ र तिनीहरूलाई बुझ्न सक्नुपर्छ. So that is what we are going to learn in this series. All right, so let's just understand what do we mean by a phrase. All right, so a phrase is a group of words that does not make complete sense. So unlike your sentence, all right, phrase is a group of words that does not make complete sense. It either has no verb or has a non-finite verb. So non-finite verbs are those verbs that does not change with tense or number of subjects. All right, such verbs are called non-finite verbs, and you may find that in a phrase. We shall deal about non-finite and finite verbs in some other series in detail later. र एउटा सेन्टेन्सले पूर्ण माने दिन सक्छ भने phrase चाहिँ शब्दहरूको समूह हो जसले पूर्ण माने दिन सक्दैन. त्यसमा verb हुन सक्छ या नहुन पनि सक्छ. Now let me give you one example of a phrase. Let's take the sentence, the early bird catches the worm. The early bird catches the worm. So in this sentence, we have the phrase, the early bird. All right, that is a phrase. So the phrase, the early bird, does not make complete sense. It does not give us any sense of what the sentence is about. All right, it is just a group of words and we just get a vague idea that the early birds does something. Alright? So that is a phrase. So if we look at a sentence structurally, we find that sentences are made up of clauses. Okay, it could be one or more than one clauses. So before we understand the structure of a sentence, it is very important to understand the component of a sentence, that is your clause. So let's understand what is a clause. A clause is a group of words that forms a part of a sentence. It has a finite verb, a subject, and a predicate. Well, you could call them a sentence within a sentence, and at times some of the clauses, they make complete sense and some do not. र क्लजलाई हामी एउटा मिनी सेन्टेन्स पनि भन्न सक्छौं र क्लज चाहिँ एउटा शब्द समूहले बनिएको सेन्टेन्सको अंग हो जसमा हामीले finite verb, subject अनि predicate. So a clause has a finite verb, it has a subject and a predicate. र एउटा clause मा हामीले finite verb, subject र predicate भेट्छौं. Clause चाहिँ finite verb, subject र predicate मिलेर बनेको हुन्छ. For example, once again, let's take the sentence, the early bird catches the worm. The early bird catches the worm. So in the sentence, the early bird is the subject and catches the worm is the predicate part of the sentence. Now let's find the verb in the sentence. So when we look for a verb in the sentence, we must look for it in the predicate part of the sentence. Catches the worm. So here the action is catches. So the word catches is the verb in the sentence. So the early bird is the subject, catches the worm the predicate, and catches is the verb. So this sentence, simple sentence, has a subject, a predicate, and a verb. So it is a clause. Now let us understand the clause in detail. If we make a broad division of the clauses, clauses can be of two types. The main clause, or we may call it the independent clause, and the other clause is the dependent or the subordinate clause. So let us understand what is an independent clause or your main clause. So an independent clause has a subject, predicate, and of course in the predicate we find the verb. So the main or the independent clause has both subject and predicate, which includes the verb also. And apart from that, the main clause or the independent clause expresses complete sense and can stand on its own as simple sentence. Okay, that is why it is called independent clause. It does not depend on any other clause. Main अथवा independent clause मा हामीले दुवै subject अनि predicate भेटाउँछौं र predicate मा verb पनि हुन्छ र सँगसँगै एउटा main अथवा independent clause ले एउटा पूर्ण मानी पनि दिन्छ. यो एउटा पूर्ण sentence मानिन सकिन्छ र यो आफै स्वतः उभिन सकेकोले गर्दा यो क्लजलाई यस्तो क्लजलाई हामी इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट क्लज भन्छौं. इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट क्लज कुनै अरु क्लज माथि निर्भर हुँदैन. For example, in the sentence, the early bird catches the worm, the sentence has both subject and predicate, which includes the verb. We call it a clause. And since this clause expresses complete sense and can stand on its own as simple sentence and is not dependent on any other clause, we call it the main or independent clause. Now, let's move on to subordinate or dependent clause. So if you look at a subordinate or dependent clause, such clause has both subject as well as predicate, which includes the verb. But unlike your main clause, the subordinate or dependent clause does not express complete sense and it cannot stand on its own. That's why we call it dependent clause, because it depends on the main clause for the completion of its sense. एउटा subordinate अथवा dependent clause मा main clause जस्तै subject र predicate दुवै भेटाउँछौं र predicate मा verb पनि हुन्छ। तर subordinate अथवा dependent clause ले पूर्ण मानी दिन सक्दैन, त्यो स्वतः आफ्नोमा उभिन सक्दैन र complete sense अथवा मानी दिनको लागि त्यसले main clause माथि निर्भर गर्छ। Right? It depends on the main clause. त्यसै कारण हामीले यस्तो clause, subordinate clause लाई dependent clause भन्छौं, किनभने sentence को माने पूर्ण गर्नको लागि यो dependent clause ले main clause माथि निर्भर परेको हुन्छ। Okay, let me explain this with the help of a sentence. Okay, let's take the sentence. I have found the book that I had lost. All right, look at the sentence once again. I have found the book that I had lost. Now, if you look properly, you'll find two clauses in the sentence. The first one is, I have found the book. All right, I have found the book is one clause. The other is that I had lost. All right. Now, let us take these two clauses separately and see whether they can stand on their own or not. So, let's take the first clause. I have found the book. Okay, I have found the book. So, if you look at this clause, this looks like a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence. It can stand on its own. It doesn't need any other clause to complete the sense. So this is an example of your independent clause and we call it the main clause of the sentence because it can stand on its own like an independent sentence. It is a simple sentence. Now let us analyze the second clause in the sentence. That I had lost. This is the second clause we find in this sentence, right? So if you look at this, does it make complete sense? No, isn't it? Okay, of course it does give us some idea that something had been lost, but this clause cannot stand on its own independently. All right, it needs the help of the main clause to complete the sense that the book which had been lost has been found. All right, so such a clause that needs the help of the main clause to complete the sense, such clause is called dependent clause or subordinate clause. All right, so that I had lost is a subordinate clause, or we may also call it a dependent clause as it depends on the main clause for the completion of its sense. र हामीले यो sentence I have found the book that I had lost लाई हेर्यौं भने यहाँ हामीले दुईटा clause भेट्छौं. Alright, एउटा clause हो I have found the book. अर्को क्लज हो that I had lost. र यो दुई क्लजलाई हामीले अलगै छुट्टा छुट्टै गरेर हेर्यौं भने I have found the book चाहिँ इन्डिपेन्डेन्टली आफू उभिन सक्छ यो एउटा कम्प्लिट सेन्टेन्सको रूपमा I have found the book gives us a complete sense that एउटा कुनै किताब भेटाइएको छ alright र यस्तो इन्डिपेन्डेन्टली उभिन सक्ने क्लजलाई हामी इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट क्लज अथवा मेन क्लज भन्छौं तर यो दोस्रो क्लज that I had lost लाई एउटा पूर्ण सेन्टेन्सको रूपमा हामीले लिन सक्दैनौं यसले पूर्ण माने पनि हामीलाई दिन सक्दैन alright so यसले आफ्नो मिनिङ कम्प्लिट गर्नुको लागि यो मेन क्लज माथि निर्भर छ र यस्तो क्लजलाई हामी डिपेन्डेन्ट क्लज अथवा सबअर्डिनेट क्लज भन्छौं So we must remember that a subordinate clause or the dependent clause are of three types. They are the adjective clause, the adverb clause, and noun clause. So altogether we can say that there are four types of clauses. Okay, one is the main or your independent clause, and the second is your adjective clause. The third is your adverb clause and the fourth is your noun clause. So in our next class, we shall be dealing in detail with the dependent or your subordinate clause. Alright, so in the next class first, we'll start up with the adjective clause. So don't forget to tune in to the upcoming video where I shall deal in detail about the subordinate clauses and the simple, complex and compound sentences in detail. And please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.